nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First-rate podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Hello and welcome to a Sunday night edition of the Managing Madrid podcast. I'm your host, Kiyan Sobhani. Tonight's episode is a two-parter. Part one is a breakdown of Real Madrid's win over Espanyol. And then part two, stick around, Castilla Corner are back. Christopher McCormick and Ruben Skierping discuss Castilla's draw over the weekend, which was a huge talking point because of Sergio Arribas and Carlo Ancelotti watching the game. And Matt, Wiltse, and I also have articles on the website on managingmadrid.com about that game and more specifically about Sergio Arribas as well. So go check that out. Stick around for part two. That's coming up in a sec. We'll bring it forward, though, because for now, we are going to break down Real Madrid's win over Espanyol first and foremost. So joining me tonight on part one is Matt Wiltse. Matt, how are you? How are you feeling about that game? Did you enjoy it?
I did enjoy it. That was actually a really, really fun game. I think there was a story in both halves, and even you could argue multiple stories within each half. And so I think a lot for us to break down. A lot happened. Some good Carlo post-game quotes too, and I just think this was one of the eventful early season games. It's fun. It was a fun one, so I definitely enjoyed it.
So this one definitely has a very interesting story arc, and the ending was I mean, I guess it just kind of was all over the place. The ending was kind of weird, but also celebratory, and there was a little bit of panic kind of at the end of the first half, and to start the second half, Espanyol kind of changed, the momentum shifted. But overall, this was a deserved win for Real Madrid. Why don't we start with the starting lineup? The first time we saw the Rudiger and Militao pairing in action, Ancelotti did say after the game that his reasoning for starting those two together was because he wanted to deal with the aerial threat of Jose Lu, and he wanted Rudiger and Militao in there together. He also talked about Alaba's left-back attacking ability. So he explained that, and we saw it, and I'm wondering, what did you think of that backline? How did it function in your eyes? Did you like it? Did you have anything that concerned you about that backline? What did you think?
I really liked it. I thought, I think we talked about this after the Celta Vigo on the post-game podcast, how likely we'll see this, or we should see Vasquez and Alaba be the fullbacks against teams that maybe play a little bit of a deeper block, or some of those kind of, with all due respect, smaller La Liga teams. I think maybe we'll see that more often. And sure enough, Carlo went for it today, and I thought it was the right move. Given Jose Lu's aerial presence, I mean, having Rudiger, Militao, Tchouameni, kind of your core three right there is huge. Like, I was thinking that even on our set pieces, I was thinking, well, we should maybe score a corner kick or free kick or something. We've got just a lot more aerial presence right now. But what I really liked the most about it were the fullbacks, and particularly Alaba. It was so fun to watch him play left back. Like, I've been one of the proponents who have felt like his position is center back. He is a center back. But I won't lie, this is seeing him in this type of role. Like, I think it should be used in the right context. But when it's used, it's a lot of fun to watch because he's so dynamic. He adds a new dimension. This time where he came centrally, where it's kind of like advanced with his back to goal on the back four, where he just provided an outlet that we never usually have when Mendy's playing. So it was so nice to see that. And I think Alaba that's the way to go when we're playing against deep blocks. Just put him out wide. You've got Rudiger there now who can play center back, no problem. And I think that may be the go-to option going forward.
So I have a lot of thoughts on this, and this is really interesting because the transition from discussing the backline to the attack is kind of seamless in this case because we're talking about Alaba in the final third. What's interesting is I don't think necessarily Alaba did that much in the final third, otherworldly, other than the fact that he was there. His heat map, he had a lot of touches in the final third. He looked comfortable on the ball when combining with Vinicius on that side, and also played inverted left back at some times, kind of drifting centrally and making these runs. Mendy, you and I were talking about this, that Mendy in bigger games where you have to face the superstar wingers maybe might make more sense. But today, I think there were a lot of occasions in this game, as many transition opportunities we had in the second half in particular. There were large stretches of this game where you had to break down a stubborn defensive low block from Espanyol that was pretty tight-knit. And I think Alaba helps in that situation a little bit more. The other interesting thing is that Tchouameni in this game, the positioning, I'm very curious to know how you saw that, because me and Jose, we were doing a podcast on Friday, and a bunch of patrons on Zoom joined us. And one of the questions someone asked us was, does it make it easier for Real Madrid to attack low blocks without Casemiro? And what I said was, I don't think so, because Casemiro, if you look at him, especially under Zidane, he actually is a type of player who was, despite being a defensive midfielder, would actually barge into the box, try to break lines, try to provide numerical superiority when we were facing tight blocks. He goes in and he tries to meet crosses into the box. He attacks balls into the box. He shoots from distance. So I actually think Casemiro was useful against low blocks in that sense. And it's interesting because Tchouameni in this role was a lot different than, what we would expect from a Casemiro-like type anchor. And there's a shift in the style of play in putting Tchouameni as your defensive anchor, I think, in the sense that he's not... we've seen Casemiro play ahead of Kroos and Modric in the past, so that part of it is maybe not necessarily a surprise. But I do think it is interesting to see him in this game not functioning as a pure anchor and actually often playing ahead of Kroos and Modric, and seeing how that played out. That probably had some defensive perils, and it left a bit of a gap between our midfield and defense throughout that stretch of Espanyol momentum. But I'm curious to know how you saw that play out. What are the pros and cons? And what was your read on Tchouameni's position in general?
Well, first off, I think Tchouameni had a really solid game. I liked him from the first whistle. I felt like he was really smooth, comfortable. All his passes were coming off. Even if you remember, like early in the game, he zipped one into Modric that didn't look like it was going to make it. But he put enough weight on the pass to get there. And I think, I was impressed with him. He picked and choose, kind of like you talked about. The Casemiro conundrum was always going to go play with them because Modric are building out from the back. And that kind of happened today as well, because Modric dropped as deep as the right back position, and Kroos did the same on the opposite flank. And so Tchouameni oftentimes would kind of have to continue to venture forward, not only because of how deep Kroos and Modric dropped, but because of how high our line was. So there just wasn't enough space. If you added Tchouameni into the mix there, it just didn't make sense. So he had to kind of keep pushing himself up. And honestly, I'm fine doing that, more so than it was, because cleaner on the ball. He's a better technician. And so for me, that makes more sense, and I'm okay with it. But to your point, there sometimes are issues in transition. But when you have Fede on the field, you have Tchouameni, and later in the second half, you have Camavinga. Those are guys that I trust to get back in transition or make the tactical foul high up the pitch or whatever it may be. So I think we can play a little bit differently with these profiles of players. And so it'll be interesting to see how Carlo chooses to use Tchouameni going forward. Possession more in position.
Yeah, Derek Ray used the word ubiquitous to describe Tchouameni in this game. I thought that was kind of apt because he was everywhere. He was playing a bunch of different positions, and, I thought what impressed me about him in this game was that there are points where he's the focal point in the build-up phase. He and Kroos are showing deep, they're playing in double pivot, they're spraying passes around. And then there are other occasions where he's literally playing in the hole as a 10. He's making great off-ball sprints into the box. He's almost playing like a second striker. And he actually made a couple good runs into the box just to drag defenders away for Benzema to get on the end of passes, or in some instances, he actually probably should have gotten the ball to shoot. And then there were also instances where him, Modric, and Kroos were very interchangeable. They were playing tight-knit triangles together. And I think, look, it's a work in progress. I don't think this is a fine-oiled machine yet. I think they're still trying to get used to it. Obviously, Casemiro, Kroos, and Modric spent years together. They had it down like clockwork. But this one is still growing. I did think there were some defensive dominoes to this, the fluidity of Tchouameni's role. But it's interesting to see how this develops. Let's start with the go-ahead goal, Matt. Tchouameni carries the ball and slides it through to Vinicius, who kind of cuts in off the ball Rodygo style across the face of goal and gets the ball and finishes it. What impressed me, Matt, about that play was that if you see Tchouameni in the build-up on that, he's very vertically oriented. He's trying to find solutions, and when he places the ball to Fede's feet, he plays that vertical pass. Instead of just kind of hedging back and leaving the play, he immediately sprints, gets it back, and it's quick thinking by Vinicius, because Vinicius sees where this is going, and he immediately darts just kind of across the face of the goal. He's kind of in the middle of the box at that point. He just darts across, and as great of a pass as it was from Tchouameni, Matt, Vinicius' movement is what unlocked that pass for Tchouameni to actually hit. So I thought, as much as we want to praise Tchouameni for this great assist, I think Vinicius really creates this goal with his off-ball movement, and the finish was great. Why don't you break that down for us if you saw anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think that movement was... Yeah, sorry. I think that movement was similar to what Rodygo always does, kind of that diagonal near-post run. And those are so difficult to defend. Just curving your run across the back line, making that diagonal run across goal. Very, very difficult to defend. And I think Vinicius did a nice job with that. And the other thing I want to call out in that goal, you kind of mentioned how Tchouameni was vertically oriented and he's carrying the ball forward, but he doesn't really have a lot of options. So he just kind of continues carrying it until he finds something. And what I liked was Fede basically recognized that Tchouameni had limited options, created a passing angle, came to the ball, played that wall pass, the quick 1-2, and that created the opening. And it's three players, Fede, Tchouameni, Vinicius, that really this is like we're seeing the transition before our eyes. Like we're seeing this new core, this new group, guys who Fede and Vinicius have already played a crucial part in the Champions League final, but these are guys for their own legacy. We left Casemiro, so he's been here for almost a decade. And I think sometimes we forget, like, we're in the midst of some of these other young players already kind of producing their legacy as we watch these games go by. And so obviously it's very early days for Tchouameni, but I liked everything about what he did in this goal. And I think he was the pass with the outside of his boot. It kind of looked like it maybe came off the outside of his boot slightly there. So either way, I mean, it was a really great vision, and like that's just something he brings to the table.
Let's get your thoughts on the goal conceded, because there's wide range of wild takes on this one. And I thought, I sometimes think we're very quick to run to find someone to blame in these sequences. And I actually thought Militao maybe was harshly blamed for this one. I'm not saying he couldn't have done better on that defensive play, but he gets goal side. He's there. He gets a little bit of bad luck with the second bounce. I think there are some things here in the build up to this that are kind of, it was one of those ones where you have to prevent it before it even gets to the box. And I think that was almost easier said than done. It was, to me, I watched this many times. Oscar Gil, the right back, he makes a very subtle but good run, just kind of moving centrally, and goes behind Kroos. And Kroos at that point has to make a decision. Do I take the ball carrier on the wing, or do I cut off that pass? And I think he's kind of caught in between both worlds. And I think he tries to kind of do both. And I don't think there's much he could have done to prevent that, because either way, he has to pick his poison in that situation. And at that point, Tchouameni was dragged into the half space by someone else's run. I can't remember who it was. And all of a sudden, Oscar Gil has this just acres of space to run into, and he plays that ball into the box, and Joselu ends up scoring. Where do you pin the blame there? How do you prevent something like that? I mean, a lot of people also came out quickly to say Casemiro would have prevented this. Like, it's not like these problems just completely vanished with Casemiro on the field too. There was something here that I think there was a gap between the midfield and the defense, and it was hard to, I think, just switch on the fly and figure that out. But I'm curious to know what you saw in that play.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult to place blame on Militao in this situation. I think he was kind of put in a tough spot. I think maybe you could argue that could he have stepped up and just held the line and try and bring Joselu offside. I think that's really, really difficult to do, especially if the whole back line just isn't in unison, and it just kind of seemed like the back four weren't connected at the moment. And so maybe the only other thing he could have done was be a little bit more aggressive with Joselu and just kind of put a little bit more of a body on him. But again, you have to be careful of not fouling him inside the box. So it was a tough one for Militao. I guess the only other, I mean, you described kind of the build up to the play well. I think the only other thing maybe was if Tchouameni kind of playing that screen position could have put a little bit more pressure on the final pass there. I think it may have been from us. If he a little bit more pressure on maybe he could have blocked or denied the passing lane. So those are my only two kind of nitpick moments about it. But really, that was besides the other late Joselu chance in the first half. They really didn't create anything else besides that the whole game. And so I think I felt like the first half we were phenomenal. Like the first 40 minutes of that game, we were playing some vintage football. I really liked the speed of our play, how we were creating chances. Vinicius was just being a nightmare. I like bet it even in the ring. I think he's kind of position his own even when we play against smaller teams. And I thought the midfield was in control. Tchouameni was, like we talked about, kind of starting to create that cohesion with Kroos and Modric. So everything was going well. And then the final 5 minutes or so, we started to lose some momentum. And Espanyol got a foothold.
Yeah, there were a couple of reasons why I wasn't too worried about the way we ended the half. I mean, it was worrying in the sense that we lost a bit of control, but I was confident for two reasons. One, I thought that maybe it was encouraging enough the way we started this game that I thought we were in control enough to be able to regain control again in the second half. That was one. Two was like I really believed in our depth, especially compared to Espanyol's depth, who are really withering in their depth department right now to start the season. And the theme has been, Matt, this whole season, and I think will be continued to be this season, and it was the theme last season. The bench makes a difference, and we're going to get to that in a second. Before we get to that, Vinicius, the grooves he's been in all season. It's funny because I think out of the two, between him and Benzema, Vinny's been a bit sharper to start the season, and Benzema will be fine. He scored 2 goals today, and he's had 19 shots in La Liga. I mentioned this on Twitter. I'm pretty sure no one has come close to 19 shots after 3 games. It's crazy how much he's shooting. I'm not worried about him because I think he's been so involved and not passive at all, and everything will just fall for him eventually. Today was a lot of offsides, a few bad touches, not in game rhythm yet fully, but he still scored 2 goals, and he was clutch as hell, so I'm not worried about him at all, and he's involved. But Vinicius has been starting pretty sharp. Why don't you talk to me about his performance today? What did you think about him?
Yeah, Vinicius has been phenomenal to start the season, and it's funny that, like, a lot of ways it felt like last season just kind of never stopped. It's just been a continuation of last season so far, just because of some of the reoccurring themes, whether it's Vinicius and Benzema scoring the goals, Vinicius just growing in his protagonism with each game, the substitutions, Camavinga, Rodygo, Ceballos, all coming in and making an impact, turning a game around. Like there's so many things that just see like, wow, I'm having deja vu. It's like the last season never really ended, and it's virtually the same team. Obviously, Casemiro's gone, but virtually the same team. And so from that perspective, like it's really positive. Like just to see, that was the big question for us at the start of last season when Vinicius was on fire. We were like, okay, this is just the first 3 months of the season, though. Can he keep this up going? And the answer has been a resounding yes. Like this is Vinicius's true level, and there looks like there could even be some room for some improvement for him to continue to grow. So I think that's what's encouraging. And runs like he made today, like those are difference makers. I think we've even seen him start to take some shots where he's curling, kind of like the Sevilla goal he scored last year. Like he didn't score that goal very often last season. And I think I've been noticing he's been taking that shot a little bit, not today, but in some of the earlier games this La Liga season, he's been taking that shot. So he's just been, I mean, I go back through, because I was doing the player ratings today, through some of my player ratings, looked at how Vinicius has been performing, and he's consistently like 8 or above. And he's consistently, like I'm writing every single time, La Liga defenders are having nightmares about him the day after the game because he just torments them. He's relentless. He doesn't stop. He just keeps going. And he has fun out there. Like some of the things he produces, and it just feels like he's getting more and more important for this team. So I'm loving the Vinicius experience.
What impressed me too is that he's working really hard defensively. Like he was defending Oscar Gil really well on that flank. He was winning the ball, and some of his touches in this game were outrageous. I do think with him, there's a certain I can't explain it, but I feel like he gets into these shooting positions and he fires off shots that previously in his career he wouldn't have been able to pull off those shots. Like he gets the balls in tight parameters, and he's able to fling off shots when there's like 3-4 players around him. You're not entirely sure how the ball got through, but he's been able to calibrate in the game and slow the game down at an impressive rate, and it's just getting better with him, and it'll get better as he ages, I think. But one thing I did want to talk about was the opposite flank and the lack of production thereof. To be quite honest with you, maybe you did. I didn't even notice Lucas Vazquez until maybe in the second half. I noticed a little bit that he was doing some things because he was getting involved, winning the ball, making some fouls. And Fede, it's interesting, all the momentous Fede occasions in this game were not really on the right side. He was coming, like, remember the one where he gets the chest bump from Alaba in the first half? He's actually on the left side.
Epic.
Yeah,
Rudiger.
Yeah, and Rudiger, he's actually on the left side, covering on that side, on that sequence. And I mean, apart from a couple good ball carrying sequences, which he always has, he did not have many things happening on the right side. And then when Rodygo came in, Rodygo was overloading the left side and not going right at all. And so that was interesting. And I don't know, do you think Fede on the right wing is suited in games like this? Or do you think he's more suited to play on the right in bigger Champions League games?
Well, I think he did things that maybe were like subtle, because there were so remember the opportunity, kind of to what you're speaking about, Vinicius getting these shots off that he wouldn't normally get off. Remember the opportunity that Vinicius shoots, he's kind of going in on goal and he hits it almost with like the outside of his foot, kind of like tries to chip it early in the first half. Well, that opportunity came from Fede winning the ball really high up the pitch and hounding the opposition and then releasing Vinicius in transition. So I feel like it's those types of things that Fede does that sometimes we don't really notice, but make the difference. And I felt like he was I thought he did a really good job. Like I noted a couple times, kind of like he did on the opening goal with the wall pass. Like he just would create good passing angles, and either whether it meant going wide or coming centrally, he just created the right outlet for his teammates in order to find a pass. So I was actually thinking to myself during this game, and I tweeted it out, that I didn't think I would like the Fede right wing experience more consistently, especially against like smaller La Liga sides. I thought it would be too much of a defensive effort, and we would need somebody who could kind of just do more 1v1 on the right wing and do things more like Rodygo would. But I've been surprised at how much I've liked it these last 3 games, and how much I actually think he's making that position his own. And just kind of when you have Benzema and Vinicius on the opposite flank, like, you can rely on them for a lot of the offensive impetus. And so with Fede, if you get the occasion ball carrying, breaking line sequence, win the ball high up the pitch, release Benz or Vinny in transition, like that type of stuff, then I think it works out. But yeah, at the end of the day, you may argue like, hey, we need to get more production out of him, and we need to see him be a little bit more influential in the final third, like we saw Rodygo in just 20 minutes. I mean, he made a huge impact. But again, it was a completely different game state at that moment.
Yeah, the game state was complete. I imagine if you bring like Fede on in the second half when the game is open like that to carry the ball 40 yards, he's going to do damage too. But we need more chest bumps. I think you can probably go back and like find data. Like, chest bumps are directly correlated to 3 points, to victories. It hypes everyone up. Like, it's the classic Marcelo pounding the chest, Vinicius going to the corner flag, asking the Bernabeu rise to their feet. You know, we said this in our scouting report on Rudiger. As great as he is, and his ball progression in this game was really impressive too. Like, Rudiger hyping up the Bernabeu. I can't wait for our first game in the Bernabeu for that to happen. It's crazy to think also we haven't played in the Bernabeu yet. This is 3 points away from home, 9 points, maxed it out. And I think we got one more before heading to the Bernabeu. And then September, the next couple months, we're basically living at the Bernabeu and in Madrid, because we got a lot of away games that are like Getafe and at the Wanda and stuff like that. So it'll be nice to be home.
But quickly on the chest bump thing too, like, what I loved about that, a couple of things that I really loved. So one, when Fede does that, like, what could have happened was his teammates kind of ignored it, or like maybe I guess like they ignore it, you feel like a weirdo and like nobody goes along with it. But instead, he runs into Alaba and Rudiger, who only enhance the hype. Like, they just make him feel like an absolute warrior and just kind of elevate him to a whole nother status and say, yes, you're right. Like, that's what we do. That's what we celebrate, just earning a goal kick and like defending our goal. And so I love that. And 2, this is 3rd game of the season in La Liga against Espanyol. Like, that's where they're doing this. This isn't a Clásico. This isn't Champions League knockout round. This is what we've called for half years, right? I always say, oh, this team doesn't care about La Liga. They only get up for the Champions League. You can't tell me after seeing that from Fede Valverde, Rudiger, and Alaba, that they're not up for this game and that they don't care about La Liga. So, like, that's why we love this squad. We've been talking about it for the last year, 2 years now. This squad is just no prima donnas, no nothing. Like, it's just you enjoy the squad, you love the squad, great group of guys, and they have the right attitude. And that was just a perfect example of it.
The most fun teams and most successful teams that I've ever played on growing up all had one thing in common. We had that. You know, there were games where we're not the most talented, but the most successful games, the most successful seasons, we've always had all of the guys in the locker room. We were best friends, and we would lift each other up. We would go crazy over things like this. We would lift each other up. This team has that. So, as you know, Matt, my expertise in pickup footy and these league games really coming into the fore here on the podcast. But it's special. It's just a continuation of the unity of last season. It's very important. The way we celebrated the 3rd goal, the way we celebrated the 2nd goal. It's right now. It's infectious in our DNA, and this is what gives us hope, definitely, to retain our title and go back to back. All right. What are we calling this midfield? Is it, because last one was KCM? What's this one? KTM? A couple of people mentioned on Twitter take TKM. you can go it rolls off the tongue because you can go te quiero mucho.
I think I like,
we don't have a consensus yet, do we?
I think I like KMT. No, we don't have a consensus.
I think I'm going with TKM. We'll see. Well, a year from now, we'll know what abbreviation prevails. Anything else from that first half?
Let me look quickly at my notes.
Alaba with a little hat tip to Mendy by crossing into our box in the first half.
Yeah.
Making sure Mendy's presence was known.
You tweeted about it, and I have it in my notes, was the incredible throw from Courtois to release Fede Valverde down the right in transition. Like, we should utilize that more. That was awesome. Especially with Fede, and Vinicius on the opposite side. Like, you have two tailor-made players to just kind of feed that ball to in transition, just let them run. And then the only other thing too, and this kind of bleeds into the second half as well, because he did it in the second half for Espanyol, the other Vini Sousa, I thought he was going to kill somebody out there. Like, he was hacking left and right. Surprised he managed that game without getting a red card. Like, he was just taking bodies and taking prisoners everywhere he went. And he was just one we had to deal with. And I particularly liked when Modric kind of did that little deft outside of the boot touch and earned a foul kind of high up the pitch. But he was somebody we had to deal with today for sure.
He somehow only had 2 fouls in this game. I could have sworn that he could have had 5.
I felt like he had 5. Yeah.
So, you said something there. Oh man, what was it?
Courtois' Tom Brady throw?
Courtois. So Courtois had a couple of those in this game, and Courtois has been good at that for basically his entire career. His throwing distribution has been much better than his distribution with his feet, although his distribution with his feet was good today, I thought. But it tinkers on the border of irrational confidence sometimes, where he's just singing vertical passes. And today they hit their mark and they were pretty good from what I remember. If there were some bad ones, I'm just misremembering. But I thought he was good. Obviously, he came up with a couple of big saves. They weren't like huge chances, and they were kind of at him, but still he was reliable in that department. And his throw, a much more subtle throw, but he had one in the second half where he just kind of rolls it to Camavinga. And it was just reminded me of Manchester City. Yeah. The one where it was like the exact same thing. He rolls it in between 2 players, and it falls to Camavinga on the right, who carries the ball. I think we can actually talk about that. The performance of Camavinga off the bench. Camavinga and Rodygo obviously changed the game. And again, I think, to be fair to everyone in the squad almost, I think because of the game state, I think almost anyone you throw in changes the game. But certainly Camavinga and Rodygo changed the game. And Ancelotti said after the game that when the game is broken, Camavinga's energy in that situation really makes a difference for us. So talk to me about Camavinga's performance off the bench, because I thought he was just awesome.
Yeah, I think Carlo also said that, basically as a coach, he has a choice between control or energy. And kind of like he talked about earlier in the season, like classic or rock and roll. And he can choose between the two. He can choose between the two. And give me a second. So losing my train of thought. By choosing between the two, he has a risk. It either works for him or it doesn't. And in this situation, I think the choice was easy because the game was broken. We lost control. And we talked about how, kind of the last 5 minutes of the first half, it felt like momentum was starting to shift. It only continued going into the second half. We never regained the control that we thought we were going to gain. And so once Camavinga came on and Rodrigo, once they entered that kind of scenario where, okay, it's a transition match now, it's chaotic, it's open, this is your moment. And I think it's not so much a risk for Carlo in that situation because it's easy for him to decide who he needs to bring on.
Yeah. So again, his ball carrying was great. There were a couple moments in transition. Maybe you could be argued that, like, I'm not sure. Like for example, there was that one sequence. Let me see if I can have it brought up here. What minute? 63rd minute, where he carries the ball. Maybe he should have slipped it in sooner and played a through ball, or released it sooner. But he kind of ends up passing it behind Benzema, and Benzema still gets a great chance off, and it's saved. But he immediately makes an impact. I mean, around that time where I think it was Derek Ray giving us a shout out on the broadcast. Thanks Derek, if you listen to this. Appreciate the love as always. I actually missed that shout out because I was actually watching replays of Camavinga in that moment where he wins the foul and wins us a free kick, just kind of on the touchline there, with these really neat touches, intricate touches. He's nutmegging players. He's got a smooth first touch where he opens up his body and kind of sees the floor, and it's just really impressive to see what he can do. And I wanted to know more about your thoughts on Rodygo as well, because Rodygo again got to play on the left quite a bit, which was interesting because I would have just assumed he would have been on the right more in this game when he comes in off the bench. But he overloads the left side and he combines with everyone who's over there. And the cross to Benzema on the winning goal, I mean, he kind of served up what Modric served up to him against Manchester City, in that Benzema's finish at the far post, one touch, gets it there just like against Chelsea. And Rodygo scored a similar goal to Benzema against Chelsea. But the cross was beautiful, and what I liked about it was that there was a composure to it. He didn't rush it. He lifted his head, and the weight on the ball was perfect. It dipped right on Benzema's foot. Rodygo, game changer, Matt.
For sure. I think that cross was it was perfection. Like he had eyes only for Benzema, and he just nailed it. And I think all throughout his introduction, though, he was really good, and he had a combination with Camavinga on one of Camavinga's runs up through the middle. He was making really good off-ball runs. He didn't always get the ball, but he made some great off-ball runs. And he, like you said, he kind of forced his way over to the left because he wanted more touches. He wanted to be involved more, and so started creating those overloads. And sure enough, it made the difference because Benzema recognized it and then went to the right and took advantage of the back post. And so it's just intelligent players feeding off other intelligent players, and that's what I liked about it. And he unlucky not to get the goal on the disallowed goal with the Ceballos play. It would have been nice for him to start a season with a goal and an assist, as we're all hoping he can get his production numbers even higher this year. And I think it's a real positive start for him in his season. Obviously, he was kind of had a niggle to start the year, so couldn't play these last few matches. But good positive start from him. I think if he can just get his fitness levels up and be able to contribute more regularly, then yeah, I'm excited for Rodygo. I got good feelings about him, as the Spanish would say, good sensations this year in regards to Rodygo.
The ending of the game was so weird. It was like, first of all, the 6 minutes. First of all, when Benzema scored, I mean, that was huge. I haven't celebrated that hard a goal since Vinny in Paris, but that was a huge moment in this game. It was a huge moment for the season, I think, when we zoom out and look at it, like that moment in particular. People who hate Real Madrid must be tearing their hair out. We just don't stop leaving it late and coming out with the victory. So that was huge. And then there's 6 minutes of injury time, which is like, whoa, where did that come from? And then there's the injury time itself takes like another hour because there's the review, the VAR review of the red card. And it's just a whole strange sequence of events. The red card was, I looked at that. I think it's pretty clear that was a red card. I'm totally okay with it. I don't we don't have anything to debate there, right?
No. Okay. Yeah.
So with that out of the way, because I really thought that was a clear red card. So in that moment, Lecomte comes off, obviously, because he's red carded. Espanyol in this weird situation, and they haven't made their 5 subs, but they've used their 3 allocated time slots because you can only make them through 3 different intervals, right? So you can't actually use all 5 of your subs at that point. I think there was some confusion over that. And so they end up putting Cabrera in there. And it's like, poor guy, you just kind of stand there. Like, and what are you supposed to do? Like, because if you're not a goalkeeper, there are some players who can actually maybe go in and try to save that. But I think whoever's taking that free kick, it looked like we were all lined up to take it. And we just kind of knew, like, just get this on target. Because, like, who knows what the hell he's going to do with the ball if it even gets to his hand. So,
here's a question for you, Kiyan.
Yeah.
Who would you pick on the Real Madrid squad to go in goal? I know who I would pick.
Rudiger.
Yeah, that was my answer too. Rudiger.
Why? Because
Rudiger
because I have zero basis on saying that. I just made it up because I just trust him to outpsych the opponent and start screaming at the player
to
taking the shot.
Animal.
Yeah, to get in his head, like to be the psychological bully and somehow force, like, speak the save into existence kind of thing. That's why I chose him. Well, but I don't know what the right answer is if there's someone who actually has played goalkeeper in the past.
Yeah. This as well. I don't know. It's been 1 game or 2 games, but I'm just loving him. Like, he's so locked in, and the intensity that he plays with is unreal. And, like, even kind of to Carlo's quote about being a pessimistic defender, he's the ultimate pessimistic defender. Like, even when Espanyol played a through ball, which nobody was running onto, like it was overhit or something, he would sprint as hard as he could and, like, make sure that nothing happened. Like, and he's not taking any chance. So, and I love that. Like, I love that about him. And I thought it was a pretty solid game. Like, obviously, no major issues. And to have him as one of these guys, hey, we've got to deal with an aerial threat. Like, let's put on Rudiger. Really nice to see. And so I'm excited to see. I'm actually interested to see how his role evolves this year and, like, whether or not he breaks into the starting 11, and if he does, how it happens. And that'll be an interesting narrative for this season.
What I'm most interested about is I still don't know what the Gala 11 is in Ancelotti's eyes. I think I've seen enough to know what most positions are. But given the fact that we all feel that Rudiger is a starter, I just want to know who that, like, I guess the one we'll really know is probably, like, we have Celtic in the Champions League, we have Leipzig, and then we have Atletico at the Wanda. Who's the one that gets benched? I don't know. The one that we know for sure, I think he'll play the Gala 11 without any rotations or rest, will be Clásico, October 16th. Will we see Mendy left back? Will we see Alaba left back? Because to me, Rudiger should be non-negotiable. And whoever gets sidelined as a result of that, that's the problem Ancelotti has to juggle. But to me, Rudiger is non-negotiable. All right, so no thoughts on that? I don't know if you had your mic muted.
No, they're
all right, cool. I just kind of left it at you without asking a question. Maybe I should have been more fair. All right, so anything else that we missed from this game?
Did we talk about when Camavinga, like, basically danced? I didn't see him produce that type of skill before. Like, that was awesome to see. In that moment, he definitely reminded me of a young Seedorf, and, like, just he looked. That was some incredible piece of skill, and just the confidence and charisma he's playing with right now is fun to watch.
People, like, I think there are some people who might get annoyed with the Seedorf comparisons because they have similar hair and similar height. But I'm telling you,
like, it's
they
everything.
literally are the exact same player. I'm not kidding. They're stylistic. Everything, the bounce, it's the same. And so, yeah, those touches were. I mean, I think he's just getting more confident on the ball. Like, he's just becoming more reliable. He's becoming Camavinga, basically. And well, he's going to hit his ceiling. I think this is just a gradual process, but he looks really confident on the ball. And today, by the way, I thought, despite there being maybe some positional chemistry issues still lingering with Tchouameni, I also thought we saw the France version of Tchouameni tonight.
Yeah, I agree.
In terms of
I really
confidence,
like
body
Tchouameni.
language. Yeah.
And I thought it interesting quickly Carlo acted tonight.
Who?
And
You cut out
I
for a
want to give
sec.
him credit there. How quickly Carlo Ancelotti acted tonight. And I want to give him credit there because he made those substitutions in the 55th minute. Like he had Camavinga and Rodygo ready. And he saw that the game was like starting to get away from us, was getting chaotic. Like nothing had changed from the last 5 minutes of the first half. And he's like, you know what? I'm not going to wait. I'm gonna throw these guys on. And I thought, right, brought us to back on was like tired, and he didn't wait. He took him out. And same thing with the Carvajal sub. Like Lucas Vazquez looked exhausted because he was running back up and down. And so I think Carlo got it spot on with the substitutions tonight.
A lot has been made, obviously, that we didn't use all 5 of our subs, and Asensio and Hazard did not come in. Any thoughts on that? Because to me, I don't even know where Asensio and Hazard help in a game like this anyway. Like, what are you going to do? Take off Benzema and Vinicius? No. Not when you need a goal that late. So, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is the reality. Like, Asensio, who knows what happens? We'll see end of this week if he ends up leaving. But if he does stay, I wouldn't be surprised if he was higher in the pecking order than even Hazard. I think
he will be if he does stay, yeah.
But like to your point, there was no one to take off in this situation. Like, who are you going to take out? You don't take out Karim Benzema. You don't take out Vinicius Jr. And like you saw. And like this is where Hazard sits in the pecking order. Same with Asensio. Like the other guys that came on are ahead of them, and rightly so. And so it's just kind of the reality of the situation right now.
Anything else? I think we exhausted it, but I always like to leave room. And I'm going to scan my quick notes while you answer. But is there anything else we missed?
No, that Ancelotti point was the only other thing in my notes. I think I'm good unless you got something.
Quick scan. I don't think so. I always miss something, but whatever. I did want to quickly ask your thoughts about this because this kind of happened around the same time. I don't know, maybe slightly before kickoff or something, but Reguilon going to Atletico. Did you see that?
Yeah, I hate it. I can't believe it. I'm so disappointed. Just because of like everything, like Reguilon was like the passion guy, and he was the guy who felt the colors of the shirt and everything. And so for him to go to Atleti, I mean, it's so disappointing. And I saw someone tweet out this morning that Atleti now have more Real Madrid Cantera players playing for them. We don't know if it's accurate.
Yeah, I mean, thinking back also to Reguilon's games with Real Madrid under Solari against Atletico in the Wanda, where he was barking at Jimenez and Godin, and then in Clásicos later with Luis Suarez and Alba. But it's one of those things. Like, he's in a weird spot, man. Like, he's not playing at Tottenham. Atletico are losing Lodi for the year, so the spot opens up for him. I kind of get it. It's back in Madrid. It's tough to be a professional player, I think, man. You can't be too picky unless you're literally a superstar who gets to choose where they go. I think it's a hard life, man. I wouldn't want to be in that position necessarily.
I would just rather, I guess like when he interviews, like I would rather he be honest though. Like, and I guess I know you don't want to put the fans, like your new fans, against you, but I feel like you had to have some sort of transparency. Like everybody knows that you're a Real Madrid fan. So like, hey, I'm gonna work for these colors and be as professional as possible. It's true that I've always loved Real Madrid or something like along those lines, but like I feel like people can see through the BS, and it's just I don't know. That's where it kind of bothers me.
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow, man. Lone Tracker, we've lost two Lone Tracker alumni to Atletico now. Him and Marcos Llorente. It's unfortunate, but hey, life goes on. Too bad. So sad. Hopefully, yeah, it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird seeing that because the Reguilon, again, was a bit of a poster boy when it comes to Madridismo and all that stuff, but as was Marcos Llorente. And all of a sudden, these guys going to Atletico, they get to stay in Madrid and get to play football and possibly even work their way into the Spanish national team. Who knows? All right, Matt, we're going to end it here. Listeners, stick around for part 2. Chris and Ruben are going to talk about Castilla. That's going to be a fun one to listen to because Castilla and Sergio Arribas were a big story this weekend. Matt and I also both had pieces on them on managingmadrid.com after the Castilla game yesterday. So go check that out. Stick around for part 2. And then Matt and I will be back on Tuesday on patreon.com/managingmadrid to talk about everything Real Madrid related, including the players on loan and stuff like that. We are also planning to do a Figo Doc reaction podcast, hopefully next weekend. So we'll keep you updated. Lucas and I will also be back for free tomorrow to talk about things El Dia Después. So yeah, it's full slate. And Wednesday we got a special guest as well. And I guess I'll just leave it for you guys to be surprised. But that's another podcast coming Wednesday. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate your support. And Matt, thank you as always. It was a pleasure. Take care, buddy. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks again.
All right, before we send you guys off to part 2 with the excellent Castilla Corner, we wanted to give a quick shout out to our patrons over on patreon.com/managingmadrid who do so much to support the show. As you guys know by now, if you are a patron, you get a ton of bonus rewards, including a ton of bonus content that is exclusively only for patrons. And we wanted to give a specific shout out to our $10 plus patrons because if you pledge $10 or more, you get a specific shout out on the podcast in addition to getting guaranteed responses to your questions. So shout out to these $10 plus patrons as follows: Brandon Alvarez, Willie Reed, Will Sousa, Wei Paring, Wamik Jamal, Umar Mahadi, Tyler Simon, Tobias Arroyo Botcher, Tarek Goktas, Taleb Salhab, Tahmid Kalam, Sujai Wani, Sumanchu Singh, Shivam Tiwari, Sherry Sorio, Sheikh Atiri, Shamil, Shabazz Sharapov, Sergio Arispe, Santos Solorzano, Samuli Justin, Samir Z, Said Mahad, Sai Mohan Sasi Kumar, Rodrigo Balmaceda, Rishi D, Phoenix, Peter Powell, Paulo Fierro, Patrick Udayafari, Oscar Barrera, Nico Laxo, Nicholas Zapatero Zubiare, Nicholas Moeller, Nick Ribeiro, Nelson Masariego, Muksith Thengal, Mowgli, MJ Diego, Michael Zinberg, Marin Myrtle, Matthew Atkins, Martin Ridman, Magnus Lext, Logan Stahl, Leon Savernakis, Kunal Tilakar, Crystal Glass, Kevin Rivera, Jose Cruz, John Fernandez, Jeff Thurston, Jason Fitz, Ian Marley, Graham Gerard, Gary Kohut, Frederick Rantakiro, Frederick Sundros, Faisal Hamdan, S.A. Davisito, Eloy Enriquez, Edward Sossman, Daniel Williams, Khan P., Christian Top, Krishna Costa, Charles Williams, Brendan Powers, Brandon Stevens, Ashik Bashar, Armand Gashi, Armando L., Antons Rudenko, Anirudh Singh, Ananya Kumar, Alexis Saniceros, Al, Azaz Hussein, Adrian Rios, Adar Zalukovic, Adam Dorsey, Bella Chow, Varun, Ramtin Maghrur, Fabian Moreno, and Daniel Smith. You guys are all legends. Thank you so much for your support. We love you all. Hala Madrid, and here is part 2.
Hello and welcome back to another Castilla Corner. It's I, Christopher, and my friend Ruben on the line today to talk about a disappointing draw against Leonas.
Linense, I think.
Yeah, I nailed it like a couple of minutes ago, or felt like I nailed it a couple of minutes ago, and now I've lost it. But one way or another, 2-2 draw. It was disappointing, and we're going to discuss that today.
I gotta admit that I'm not sure if this says a lot about my interest of other teams in this league, but I watched the whole game, and I think it said RBL in this, with where the goals is, and I didn't even bother to check what their team name was. I just thought, okay, this is the team we're playing. So
every time I see RB in football now, I just presume it's Red Bull.
Yeah.
Even if,
I don't think this is a Red Bull club.
Yeah, I mean it'd be pretty weird if Red Bull had a team in the third division, but I don't know. It's in my head now, so I can't get rid of it.
Yeah, it's Real Balompedica Linense. Yeah.
Very nice.
From Andalusia, So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I think there's been there seems to have been enough discussion online about the game. Plenty of people were watching. I think that was probably helped by the fact that we did at last get a broadcaster that seemed to have their shit together.
Yes, that's it's good that you brought it up. I think we should mention them so that people know where to watch. So can you say, I don't have it up now, it's
Instat TV. Yeah.
Instat.tv, yeah.
Yeah. Free to
and we have high hopes for them after suffering a little bit over the last couple of seasons.
The footers era will not be remembered fondly.
Yeah, but are we sure that this is now solved? It's clear. We know is this where it's going to be streamed? I'll
never like put my fist down and say this is it. I'm planting my flag on this. But for now, this is where it seems to be. It
just because just so that people know, it seems that you can just register for free and then you can watch. And they even have, for those of you who have tried Y Scouts, which is like a scouting program which is paid for, you can do some similar stuff. You can actually just, okay, now I want to watch just Arribas's touches, and you will get it. We'll get it for all of the players, which it seems too good to be true if this is for free.
Yeah, I didn't actually know you could do that. That's pretty cool. I know you can watch games that have finished. You can watch the replays of them online as well, just on demand, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Kind of like when Real Madrid TV had it on Twitch.
But that's also something I want to mention. I think Real Madrid TV will stream, or at least show, the home games. I don't think they will show it on Twitch. At least they didn't yesterday, as far as I know. And also I don't know how you say it, geo-blocked.
Yeah, I had the same problems.
Yeah, so even though I tried with VPN and everything, it seems like Instat is the place to go. But if you watch in Spain, I think you can maybe watch the home games from Real Madrid.
I have a recollection of on a handful of trips to Spain where I tried to watch Castilla games and I've been geo-blocked in Spain.
Really?
Yeah, I think you might have to be in Real Madrid City to watch some of the games. That's what it means by geo-blocked.
Okay, that's
just gotta be standing outside.
So it's very exclusive.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, the Instat seems pretty cool. I will link it somewhere, maybe on Twitter, or I'll link it on the show notes so people know where to go. They have offices in Limerick, apparently, in Ireland, which is pretty cool. Naturally, us Irish people have a great interest in the third division of Spanish football. So only natural that we would have the airing rights to it as well. But yes, first game of the season kicked off last night, 2-2. It was not short of goals, but I would say it's a poor result for Castilla. Kind of say it, new season, same old Castilla, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. It is. Some decent play, but ends in typical Castilla way.
Yeah. There's actually, I'd have to get the starting 11 up, but for me, there's actually not a lot of players that you could say had a bad game. I can think, if I'm thinking standout performances, I'm thinking more so the guys who impressed me. Obviously,
yes.
Arribas had a great game, as you would expect. Alvaro Rodriguez scored a goal, and it was a really good goal, the opener from a corner, which was... It was actually, I thought it was very well taken. It wasn't favourite. Kind of jumped up at the near post of the corner and finished in the far corner, which was really, really well taken.
It was a difficult header, and it was also a very good corner from Peter.
Yeah.
And Alvaro, still very young, but he shows how dominant he can be even at his young age and at this level, which we always talk about how physical this league is. But still, as a teenager, he manages to win the headers and the duels. So it looks very promising.
I think they only picked him up last season or the year before for the under-19s as well. He's quite a recent player to join the club.
And this is why you should never really draw conclusions too early when it comes to, either way. If it's good or bad, the players can disappoint, but they can also suddenly improve. And he's a good example of someone. I don't think he's someone who's been talked about almost at all by the fans.
No.
And suddenly he's, we have to talk about later. Tasa has gone, and then suddenly Alvaro now is a key player for us.
He was on the bench today for Getafe against Villarreal. I don't know if he played any minutes, but he was on the bench as far as I'm aware.
So if Real Madrid gets some injuries in the front line, let's say Asensio also leaves, and we usually do get some injuries, it's interesting to consider who will be the first ones to get the chance for the first team.
And and Ancelotti was at the game yesterday.
Yes.
Common sense would dictate that it'd be a Rebas, but I don't know. Common sense would dictate.
He was also, he has been at the game at Di Stefano earlier. He was actually there the last time I was in Madrid last, what was it, March or something?
Yeah.
And I think many people are saying, he watched Arriba score a great goal. He had a good game. Surely this will help. But Ancelotti has been at Di Stefano earlier, and he surely knows of Arribas from before.
Yeah, and Zidane has been there. I think the manager has the senior team manager has a booth in the Stefano where they can go and watch the games. I don't know if it really affects their decision making.
I don't know, but it's good that he's there at least. It shows that he at least has some interest. But the big question, which I think, it's almost like I'm not going to say it's negative for the fans when Arribas does well, but it seems like the better he plays, the more frustrated people get because he still plays at this level, which is, of course, you can see throughout the whole game that he's just he's
two or three.
At this level for a long
he's always
time.
Seems to be like 2 or 3 steps ahead of the player that he's coming against. I think probably we're jumping forward a bit here, but his goal, the second goal that put Castilla 2-1 up, the start of that move was just stunning. Reminds me of a little of what the stuff that Asensio used to do that got us all excited about him in the first place.
And the finish and the second to last touch. I mean, the whole goal. He's just brilliant, and this is what I like the most about him. He's not just a dribbler, someone who can do some flicks and tricks. He scores goals. He provides assists. He's just a very, very promising player and someone who, and let's not, I just want to say something about Real Madrid's decision to keep him. Let's not think that Real Madrid, for some reason, do not believe that he's ready for a bigger challenge. They know he's ready. He's been ready for maybe ever since he finished his first season with Castilla. But if Real Madrid want to get Castilla promoted, you have to make some tough decisions. And you can agree or disagree, but if you let all of the best players go from Castilla, getting promoted is almost impossible. And okay, you could disagree and say that, but it's still not worth it. We are wasting a great talent. Could be, but at least we have to look at Real Madrid have made a purposeful decision here.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'd always prefer him to play than being washed up on some first division bench for a season, which is I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that's the other option.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what could have happened with him at another club. We've seen a lot of players being brilliant at Castilla and then going to another club and not even getting into the squad. But yeah, I just hope this will be. You mentioned the lineup. Should we just quickly go through the lineup? We don't usually do that, but we have a strong team this season. Don't you agree?
Yeah, and it's all flipped up as compared to last year where we kept a lot of the old faces. It's a lot of change. Even from more than I thought there was, because there's a lot of names missing since I last checked. So it might be smart. I have to find it first.
It's Lucas Cañizares in goal. He has seemed to take is he our first goalkeeper now, you think?
It seems so. I wasn't. He made like a massive error for the equalizer.
Yeah.
And he probably could have conceded another one in a similar fashion not long after in the second half. He reminded Casillas used to do that as well. Casillas was always a big fan of like parrying a low cross rather than catching it. And he always like most of the time he was fast enough to get up and block the follow up if he needed to. But like I don't understand why you have to put yourself under that sort of pressure.
Yeah. I mean, he has been showing good signs in preseason, but this was not a good start from him, for sure.
I mean, I'm obviously Lucas Zidane did take the biscuit for mistakes a couple of years ago, but I mean, every Castilla goalkeeper has just a boneheaded error in them. It's the nature of they're very young. They're very young players, and usually if a goalkeeper makes a mistake, they get punished for it. So
also very similar to Lucas Zidane, Canizares is a goalkeeper who is comfortable passing the ball out from the back. So I think this is something Raul likes, and
for sure.
Seems they play pretty risky at times, but it mostly works.
Yeah, absolutely. And apart from the two mistakes, he was fine. But at the end of the day, the two mistakes cost us one goal and could have cost us another, you know?
Yeah.
So,
also in the back line, I think it's a very strong back line. Vinicius Tobias, Rafa Marin, Pablo Ramon, Obrador. Pablo Ramon getting a start is also good news for him. He was
that was his. He didn't wow. Clear. I thought he was pretty good actually. Pablo Ramon. It was one of his better games in a long time. Obrador was excellent. I really enjoyed watching him. I think he was playing. He was right back, and Tobias was left. Definitely the more adventurous right full back compared to Tobias, but linked up really nicely on that wing and had, especially in the first half, I thought he had some good touches. And I mean, his kind of the end product in terms of a cross was kind of hit or miss, but he's certainly going in the right direction in terms of what you want from a Real Madrid fullback.
You were talking about Obrador now, right?
Yeah.
Because Vinicius Tobias also did some good stuff. It was a pretty good game, I think, from him. And still, we got to remember that we actually have a buying option on him for like 18 million or something. So he should have a very good season for us to trigger that one. But
I was unaware that we hadn't already bought him.
Yeah, it's a weird deal because I'm not sure if you know more about this than I do, but so he came from Shakhtar in Ukraine.
Oh, yes, I remember. Yeah, I remember.
And I thought that all of the players were released. What I've been thinking that maybe Real Madrid didn't want to steal a player from a club which is hit by war. So they have loaned him for 18 months, I think, and then they have a buyout option for 18 million. And
it probably does us more. That description probably does us more justice than the reality. Because I mean, even one way or another, we did kind of hijack the deal because he was going to Shakhtar. Well, he was going to Shakhtar before because I remember having to do a write up on this. What changed was that the league got suspended, and he filed to kind of change his deal so he could play, and Real Madrid essentially jumped on board and was like, "We'll let him play at our club." So he was able to get rights to play for us through that.
Okay, because I wasn't aware that it says that he moved from Internacional to Shakhtar in January, and we bought him in April.
Yeah.
So I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. It is kind of wrapped up in the war in Ukraine, though. Which.
Okay. Yeah. I was just guessing. It's good that you cleared it up, but
yeah, I'll have to double check my article again.
Yeah. What I see is that they paid 6 million for him. and we then have the triple of that as a buying option. So, let's see. At least we have him.
He's got a big, well, whenever the trigger option is, I don't know if it'll be the winter move or winter transfer window or the summer one, but he certainly has to put in quite a season to justify 18 million.
Yeah. I think that's quite unrealistic. I don't think it's likely. I think what's positive for him is that we don't have the best alternatives to Carvajal. So if he does impress and it looks like, okay, well, at least he's a promising player and he has an upside, we can sell him maybe for more money in the future. Maybe Real Madrid will do it, but I agree. It will take a lot for Real Madrid to basically buy, a player from Castilla's division for 18 million. That's pretty much what you do. Of course, he's proven himself. He has been playing in Brazil as well, but yeah, that's pretty much what they would have to do.
Yeah. Who else was playing?
So VR and Dotor in central midfield. Let's just finish the lineup so that we don't forget. It was Canizares in goal, Tobias, Rafa Marin, Pablo Ramon, and Obrador at the back. Centrally, the deep lying midfielders, Dotor and VR. And then you have Peter, Arribas, Alvaro as a striker, and also Bruno Iglesias, who was that was the surprise, I think, to see him starting on the left.
Yeah, for sure. Probably overdue because he's been pretty solid for more than 4 or 5 years at youth level.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, he had a chance to score in the first half as well, didn't he?
Yeah. And
he was pretty quiet.
It wasn't his best game, but he was doing a lot of stuff right, at least.
Yeah, it's it was good for a debut. I think it's all right.
Yeah.
Probably he'd be disappointed with the result, though, unfortunately.
Well, it's just typical Castilla, and for those who don't know, we of course conceded in the 92nd minute from a set piece from a corner. Yeah,
we've been doing that for about 3 or 4 years. Everyone just falls asleep and boom, header, corner, bottom corner. We could have conceded. I mean, we gave enough chances away to probably lose the game. But it's just a case of, if we didn't make such silly mistakes, we would have won it. We could have easily won it.
Yeah, and that's maybe where the lack of experience comes in. But let's hope it's not something that will happen regularly.
I don't know. Obviously, Canizares' mistake on the first goal, parrying it out into the path of an attacker, that's an individual mistake. But, I mean, the corner thing has been a problem for 3-4 years. On and off.
I think we just saw the replay quickly, and we think it's Vinicius Tobias who loses his man, but it was so many things happening inside the area, so it's difficult to say for sure. But it's just typical for Castilla, and so close to a great start. I think the team would have needed a good start, but we've had a good preseason, at least some good results against good opponents. I hope that the players have confidence, and as I said, I like the team a lot, and it could still be some more signings as well. So a lot of things to be optimistic about.
Yeah, for sure. I think going forward, first game of the season, so there's it's not like it's wrapped up yet, but I think going forward, sides like Linares, I've forgotten again, whatever, RBL.
Linense.
We need to be beating those teams if we want to be in the promotion race.
We will have to be without Dotor the next game because he got I think it was a very soft red card, his second yellow, I think, towards the end.
Yeah, the referee had a dodgy game because he gave he gave away a penalty as well that just, I don't know, for third division standards was pretty soft as well.
That was also actually Dotor creating that penalty, conceding the penalty, which they missed. So Linense missed that one. But
it was
Dotor, I think
as
that's
well.
where Yeah.
He went for the top corner and he got the top corner of the
That was
stadium.
an awful penalty. But I think that's when Dotor got his first yellow and then his second yellow right towards the end before the final whistle. So unnecessary. He seems to be our captain this season. So Raul trusts him a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's one of the more experienced players as well. Up there, I think, outside of Arribas, who I like. My line on it would be whether he's been kept for the first team, but what exactly needs to happen for that for him to be in the first team is another question entirely. Whereas Dotor, starter, probably not really going to look at first team football, barring some sort of natural disaster.
That would, if Dotor ends up getting regular minutes for the first team, something very bad would have.
Yeah, something's had to gone wrong for that to happen.
Yeah.
No offense to Dotor, but yeah, so it makes sense to give him the captain's armband. I mean, like, I will have to look at this properly, but there must be a lot of these guys who are coming close to that 100 cap mark.
No, it's the Fidalgo got the famous 99. So
yeah. And I think the top appearance maker for Castilla is probably from like before it was like on the early days of when it was a feeder club for us.
Yeah. When it was almost not a part of.
Yeah, when it was almost a team in it of itself. So I'd have to look into it. But these guys playing for Castilla for as long as they have, like, I think Dotor must be coming into his third or fourth year with the team. It's pretty crazy.
And also Raul will. That's also an interesting one. How many games has the manager with the most games? Raul is heading into his fourth season now. So
yeah, it's 4 years. This is his fourth year, so he's played 61 games. That's a lot.
61 games. Also, was the manager when Juvenil won the youth league. So he's now becoming a very. Well, I'd say he's had his impact at our academy for sure.
Definitely, yeah. I don't know. Like, I am worried that he's overstayed his cycle. But we'll see. It's early days still this year, so it might work out. But I think some things we saw last year were a lot of malaise, and I don't know. I do think for his own development, I think he probably would have liked to have found a new place or found a new challenge.
At least it's less dangerous for a manager to wait.
Well, in a team like this, it's probably less dangerous because the turnover is so extreme from year to year.
Yeah. It seems like we have signed a player we talked about in the last pod, Iker Bravo. And I didn't see Raul's press conference, but it seems like he confirmed it at the press conference that Iker Bravo will arrive. And so that could mean that this was maybe the end for Alvaro as our starting striker. Who knows? I think Iker Bravo could play in other positions, but we do have very good options now in attack. Yeah, we also brought on Leiva at the left for Bruno Iglesias, and he's also a very promising signing. So, I do have high hopes for this season. It would be a disappointment if we don't make it.
But I think we've always been very good at having a third division standard defense over the last decade or so. I think there's rarely been an issue where you would say that our defense has been subpar. It's always been the goals that have been the issue. And I don't know, if bringing Iker Bravo, I think he has scored in the Bundesliga. So if he can do that, he's well capable of doing it in the third division.
Yeah, I don't see many weaknesses in our team now if we bring him in.
Alvaro looked strong in his first game. Arribas, you'd expect him to challenge for double digits this year. Yeah, for sure. It's
So we have strong players. We have a strong defense, strong front line. We have continuity with the same coach. We have a good coach in Raul, and the question I have is, are we overrating them a little bit, or are they actually as good as we are saying now? And also, we have to remember that the division is quite tough after what they did with the changing the teams and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We were quite high on them last year as well, and they didn't live up to expectation. I think it can be in this division. It can be hard to play to your ceiling. Even in general for a U team, it's hard to play to your ceiling because you have a lot of players that are just not there yet. But I don't know. I think it's a really good group. It's a good mix. Hopefully it'll turn out like we think it might. But don't hold it against us if it doesn't.
No. Do you know? Forgot to mention Noel Lopez, who also was signed this summer. Another attacking player. So we will have a lot of options.
Yeah, and he didn't even make an appearance yesterday.
Yeah,
despite the fact he played really well during preseason.
He didn't even come on. So the bench was Mario de Luis, Alcázar left back, Alex Jimenez right back, Manuel Angel, Theo central midfield, Alvaro Martin same, Leiva, Aranda, and Noel Lopez. So yeah, strong players on the bench as well. And then we're bringing in Iker Bravo. Do you know Iker Bravo seems to be some trouble registering him, or getting. It seems like FIFA consider him as under 18 signing or something. Do you know anything about this? No,
it's the first I'm hearing of it.
Okay, so I think, they have some trouble registering. So at least he's not allowed to train until he has the authorization from FIFA, and he's considered a player under 18. And he comes from another country, but he's Spanish, no? So it's a very weird situation.
Yeah, I don't like. It's probably just the bureaucracy. Bureaucratic wheels at play. Hopefully it'll sort itself out. There's not a huge amount of time though, so you'd prefer just these things to be smooth rather than having all the weird paperwork issues.
Yeah. He has actually just been a Bayer Leverkusen player for 1 year. And do you know where he came from? Bayer Leverkusen? Barcelona.
Yeah, I was gonna get. Knew it was either Barcelona or Atletico Madrid.
He was 11 years at Barcelona. 11 years.
You better forget those years pretty quick.
Yeah. So that's. People are very divided, I think, when it comes to signing players who either directly or indirectly from Barcelona or Atletico. Because
I've seen some conflict over the idea that Atleti might be signing Sergio Reguilon.
What do you think about that move? It seems like he's going to Atletico.
Oh, he had, it's.
I think
Fabrizio
it's pretty
Romano
close.
says it's confirmed, so. Usually he scores the tap-ins with those sort of transfers. I don't know. He kind of fell off the map for me when he went to Tottenham. It's a loan deal with no buy option. Yeah,
but it's still just seeing him in that jersey. It's not right.
It's becoming less weird now because we seem to be doing it a lot. But I mean. He was pretty hard done by not to have been able to get some sort of spot in the team after Solari. I mean, he was one of the few bright spots from that year, and then Zidane just never really considered him as an option.
Because Zidane came back, and I remember just him. He put Reguilon out of the team immediately, started playing Marcelo, getting him and Isco back to fitness, and then it was just straight
Mondi.
out. And and we got a lot of money for him. So I think in hindsight it was a good sale, but I thought I would have more emotions about him going to Atletico because I think Reguilon, he was like a lifelong Real Madrid fan. I think a lot of people have seen the picture of him. He was during the La Decima game. It was actually against Atletico then. So
I remember him.
But I'm not sure which stadium. But there's a picture of him, I think, holding a Real Madrid flag, and you can see he's younger, and you can see he's been a Real Madrid fan for a long time. So I thought I would have more emotions about this, but I think, as you say, his spell at Tottenham hasn't been that good, so it doesn't seem like we are losing that great of a player.
No, I think in terms of for him individually, he probably would have preferred that he had stayed in Madrid and been able to continue his momentum than having to uproot and try and start over at Tottenham.
And also it's wrong of me to say that we're losing him. He's just, as you said, he's going on loan, and Real Madrid, as far as I know, still can buy him back for like 40 million or something. But that's a crazy fee. So I think Real Madrid would never even consider that.
Yeah, and I think our left back spot now is pretty good because of how we've shuffled the defense. With Alaba,
Rudiger, you mean?
Yeah, Alaba, Rudiger, Nacho all in the mix. It's pretty packed. So 40 million would be a lot to invest in a position we probably don't need to.
Yeah, it's not happening. Yeah, not happening.
Yeah,
no,
don't talk to me about Rudiger playing at left back. So it's so frustrating.
I agree. That was just surreal to watch him play the first game, and
and everyone was calling him washed because he was playing out of position.
They did already?
Yeah, I saw it.
Didn't you tweet out something about Rudiger?
I can't remember. I know. I don't know. I missed the Celta Vigo game last weekend, but I did tweet out when David Alaba scored that free kick against Almeria to get the chairs out, and that it went down well.
But I think maybe I'm messing this up now, but I think Kiyan mentioned in a previous pod that you had tweeted something about Rudiger during the preseason, and then you deleted it. Is that correct?
I genuinely can't remember.
I think it was something about it's a terrorist move to play Rudiger.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did tweet that. And I was like, I don't know how people will feel about the use of terrorist in that term, so I might delete it. I did tweet that. Yeah. I'd forgotten.
Yeah,
it is, but it is true. In light of
yeah, it's a good one, but it's
yeah, I don't know. I'm never kind of able to properly judge how people feel about different things. So if I have doubts in my head, I'll just be like, I'll err on the side of caution.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I also like that you deleted it. It also made it even better.
Adds to the lore. The real Castilla Corner followers know about that one.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's the next game then?
I can't remember.
Let's do a quick check here. So, Castilla in the second round will be playing Racing Club Ferrol, and that's the 4th of September.
That's actually difficult. That's a difficult little start to the year, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know it's not good when you recognize some of the teams from the Copa del Rey.
Exactly.
We're playing Salamanca as well.
Seems like they have. Is it Gazzaniga in goal? You know him from Tottenham?
And Southampton as well.
No, that's not him. No. That's not him.
Kiko Castilla is playing for Getafe now.
Okay. This is my great knowledge. Yeah.
We should get.
This
is where Samos comes in handy because he always knows like weird facts about players that play for just random ass teams, and
yeah.
He'd be able to tell you like a Castilla player that's playing in Bulgaria or something like that.
Yeah, because I was just Googling Racing de Ferrol, and I got up a list of some of the players, and I was thinking, maybe Google have sorted the most famous ones at the top, and wow, did they somehow manage to sign this player? But no, it was the wrong one. So
it would have been an interesting move.
Yeah, we are, continuing about the tough start. We're also playing Unionistas de Salamanca, and then your favorite, San Sebastián de los.
And away as well. I hate their stadium.
Yeah.
It's not a stadium. It's an athletics field.
Yeah. Everything is bad about it. Yeah.
What is it with San Sebastian clubs and like running tracks around the rim of the stadium? Because the Anoeta had one as well.
Yeah.
And Almeria has one as well. Where are they based? They're not based near. They're based in the south, aren't they?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just
isn't it close to south east or something?
Yeah. Yeah, it's in Andalusia. I don't know. It's a very strange phenomenon. Because even Ireland, if there's a football stadium is a football stadium. We don't have running tracks around the edges of these stadiums. It's very strange.
Isn't it just a sign of them doing more stuff than just football?
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if they usually use those tracks. Do you know if that's?
I don't know any famous Spanish runners. The only thing I can associate with Spain and clay is Rafa Nadal.
Yeah. Yeah. But I agree. It's not good for the atmosphere. The only thing is that you can get some good celebrations. For example, Cavani, when he was at Napoli, used to jump over the fence and run towards the fence. That was a great scene.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
That's the only positive. I think the best is, the closer to the pitch the fans are, the better. It's
I completely agree.
Highbury, for example.
Yeah. What is it? The Vallecas as well. Vallecas is great because it's a small stadium. So even when you're up it's a tiny stadium, so nosebleed probably doesn't do it justice. It's not that high, but it would be the nosebleed section of the stadium. And even then, you can see the players and the manager. If you stand up, you can see the manager. And you feel so close to it all. It's brilliant. I loved it. It was one of my favorite places that one of my favorite stadiums I've ever been to. Period. It was really, really good.
Yeah. What's your top 3 stadiums then?
I think the Bernabeu on a good night is underrated for sure. I think of like games against Inter Milan that I've been to last Christmas and the Madrid derby as well. I went to that one last December as well. They were all great. I really enjoyed those games. Vallecas was fun. There's another one I can't remember.
Vallecas is one of my favorites as well. So yeah,
I haven't been to
the Bernabeu.
Yeah, Bernabeu, Vallecas, and I haven't been to a game to it, but the San Mamés as well in Bilbao, nice stadium.
Don't how can I say it? Don't be too upset if you haven't visited Getafe away. That's a windy, cold stadium. That's the only thing I can say.
I don't even like watching Getafe.
No, that's. I was there once, and I was quite new to Spain, and I, as a Norwegian, I thought that this will be no problem. I went there with just a thin jacket and almost nothing, and it was so windy, so cold, and all of the Spanish people, they were having like these thick jackets, and that was actually quite a bad experience.
It's like the Di Stefano and food. There's no food at the Di Stefano. You have to bring a sandwich for the parking lot. It's always one of the features of a game day at Castilla is just all the Spanish families that can get in eating stuff and sandwiches into them before they go in.
Well, Di Stefano is also, that's a weird stadium. The location is, it's
when the trains are not going, it's an odyssey.
Do you? I haven't actually taken the train.
You can get the airport train to the Valdebebas.
That's where I met Kiyan for the first time. I remember I was just sitting by the stairs, and he had taken the train, and so,
he made fun of my hair that day as well.
Really?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He took a picture of it and posted it on Twitter. It was like my red head was lighting up the Di Stefano.
Did he?
Yeah.
I want to find that tweet. Well, I remember, that was a good trip. That was quite a good live podcast as well. There was, do you remember we were at the Irish Rover, and it was so packed that people had to stand outside the room to listen.
I still go to the Irish Rover to watch a game when I'm in Madrid.
It's
a low key fun spot to go to. I would recommend it, and it's the same everywhere. Anywhere you go in Europe, if you want to watch a sports game, you have to go to an Irish bar. Because I speak from experience in trying to avoid them.
You try to avoid them?
I don't usually go into Irish pubs when I'm away because I would just stay at home if that's what I was going to do. But if you want to watch football or anything, it's always Irish pubs that have them, no matter where you go.
Yeah, it's true. It's
their selling point. But yeah, Irish Rover is a pretty underrated spot in my opinion.
That was a good trip. Absolutely. Let's hope we can get together again for something similar.
Has to be done.
And the irony is that I usually organize trips for the Norwegian Penya, and as a teacher I have a lot of vacations, but I also have I can't move my vacations. I have to go when the students are away. So the only week I'm free during the next months or so is actually to see Getafe away. That's the only one. So I'm not sure if it's
that's got like a filthy dropped points vibe to it there.
Yeah, and also
with someone getting injured.
And it's also the weekend before the Clásico, and also so unlucky. I think we're playing. I'm not sure if I saw this wrong, but I think we're playing Shakhtar away between those games. So if they had instead draw them to play at home, it would have been a great week.
Yeah, that'd have been a good week to go.
So let's see. Maybe that's a potential live pod. Let's see if I should maybe speak to Kiyan about this.
Yeah, only time will tell. We've definitely gone off track, but I think
we've gone a long way without talking about Castilla now. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we finish pods up, we generally just ramble for a little while. I feel like that's what people tune into.
Yeah, let's hope that's
the odd ramble here and there.
Yeah.
All right then. I think that wraps it up. I think.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, we shall see you again when we see you again. Is what I'll say.
Yeah.
Hopefully next week. Again, we're on a roll. That's 3 in a row. I want to say 3 or 4 in a row.
I think so. We're aiming for the Racing Club Ferrol game then. That's on Sunday.
So, and now that we have a solid little broadcaster in our boys based in Limerick now, so we have no excuses this year. We have
excuses.
Have to be on the ball.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyways, we shall see you then. Until then, Hala Madrid.
Hala Madrid.